सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वर्षिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषण्णं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः निधये सर्वविद्यानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। भूरम्भांस्य नलो नीलोऽम्बरमहर्नाथो हिमांशुः पुमान् इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदं यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम् नान्यत्किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशतां यस्मात् परस्माद् विभोः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। So we were looking at the 9th verse and we have covered around 30 shlokas in the Vartika also. I think we were here. Chitte nischalatam yate prano bhavati nischalaha chittasya nischalatvaya yogam sadhyanam abhyaset. So, chittasya nischalatvaya. So, nischalatvam means what? Mind not moving here and there. Okay. Chalanam. Okay. Chalanam means what? The word chalanam is there even in Tamil. We don't say cha, but we say sa. Salanam. People say salanam. In fact, in Tamil, I don't know why, but yeah, the chalanam means what? Mind is agitated. Mind is moving around here and there. Now, nischalanam means mind is calm. Mind is focused on whatever you want to focus on. Okay. Our mind is totally without any thoughts. Also at one level, if you want to take it up to that. Okay. So, this chitta naischalya, okay, is one of the qualifications. So normally when we talk about sadhana, whatever you have to practice to gain certain qualification for this Vedanta, two things are talked about. Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Naischalyam. Chitta Shuddhi means purification of mind. Purification means we have to say what is impurity. Impurity is your raga dvesha, likes and dislikes, longing and hatred. All these things are impurities. Now, how am I going to overcome this raga dvesha? And raga dvesha produces other things, correct? Because of your liking for something, and if you don't get it, it causes pain. Pain becomes anger. And whatever you like, if somebody else has, it becomes jealousy. And even if you get whatever you have, you become proud. Like this, so many other side effects are there of raga dvesha, correct? So one needs to come out of all these things. Now these impurities, why they are even impurities, why it is a problem for understanding Vedanta? Because they all reinforce your individuality. Understand that. Any likes and dislikes only implies that you are lacking something, you are limited, you are a wanting person. That is only implication of that. Any like or any dislike, or even jealousy means that somehow somebody else is having something else and you don't have. That again is reinforcing your own smallness, limitation only. So all these impurities, which are born out of ignorance really, are nothing but making your smallness well entrenched. No, we don't want that. The vision of the Vedanta is that you are the limitless. You are not a wanting person. So that is why this has to go first. At least at a relative level, you are the master of your likes and dislikes. So how do we achieve that? By Buddhi Yoga. By doing a yoga of attitude, Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Correct? You have the right attitude towards Karma Phala. You understand that Ishvara is the Karma Phala Data. Ishvara alone is the one who is giving the fruits of your action. And your attitude towards the results of action is one of equanimity. Prasada Buddhi also you develop. Whatever results of action come, I accept it as prasada. So this way one gains certain purity of one's mind because one has mastery over the likes and dislikes. That itself is considered to be a success, siddhi. Swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim mindati manava. Like this Bhagavan says. So this siddhi, this success in terms of mastery over one's likes and dislikes is the real success. That is how we look upon one's success in life means what? Success in life is not in terms of fulfilling your likes or dislikes. That way nobody can be a success. If you count all the things which you wanted or you did not want throughout your life, whoever you are, you may be a rich person, poor person, powerful, weak, whatever it is. Nobody, for everyone in fact, the unfulfilled desires are order of the magnitude more than whatever got really fulfilled in life. So everybody will be a failure. So your success or failure cannot be gauged based on how many likes or dislikes you were able to fulfill. This is for anybody, I am saying. So how do we look at success? In our tradition, we say that your ability to master your likes and dislikes means your ability to have certain equanimity with reference to whether your likes and dislikes got fulfilled or not. That is a measure of success. So that is the first part. Then we also need Chitta Naischalya, Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Naischalya. A mind which is not agitated. See, even if you have certain attitude of equanimity with reference to results of action, Prasada Buddhi is there. You recognize Ishvara everywhere. That is all good. But still there may be other issues. Unconscious is there. Childhood issues are there. Some issues can even come from previous janma, in fact. Fear, phobia and all actually comes from previous janma. So many things are coming from janmantara, from other lives. And whatever you have picked up in this life when you were a child, when you were not really having any say over what is happening to you, correct? So one has to handle all those things also. Otherwise, those things will be troubling you. They will make your mind agitated. Okay. So again here also some amount of Ishvara Pranidhana. We have to relax in the lap of Ishvara and process all these things which can come like a visha, like a poison. It can come in anybody's mind. The subconscious, the unconscious can rise up, and it has to be processed. Unless this unconscious is processed, you cannot have Shama. Dhamma is still possible. Dhamma means you are still having a certain mastery over your organs of action. Even though you may have anger, you do not behave improperly. So you maintain a certain propriety. But Shama means even that anger, nothing is there in your mind itself. Your mind is always calm. It is resolved. It is able to focus, okay, on whatever you want. In this case, in fact, the focus has to be only on the Atma Ekatva Jnanam. Whatever the Upanishad is revealing about you, you should be only able to focus on that, contemplate that, and make that your identity. You have to transform your self-identity. It's not an easy thing. How naturally you were thinking that you are an individual human being, that has to be totally replaced. That self-identity has to go away and replaced by Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That Brahmatma is myself. That is the identity we want. So if you have to focus on that, again you have to have a certain disposition of your mind. That is where this Chitta Naischalya is important. The Ashtanga Yoga is prescribed as a practice, or Vaidika Upasanas are there. Okay? Or Japa Yoga, like that. Even if you don't do Ashtanga Yoga, we do contemplation. Vedantic meditation we can do, Dhyana. Or simple Japa also you can do. Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Vyapara. That where you actually gain a certain absorption. Okay, your mind, once it is freed from distraction, naturally gains a certain absorption in whatever you want to focus on. So that is the important thing here. So here if you see, one interesting thing Sureshwara points out in this 31 is, initially we say that you focus on your breath. You do pranayama and all that. Okay, because the idea is through the mastery of your breath, you try to master your mind. Okay, but that kind of focusing only on the breath and all that is okay initially, but that is not our end. In fact, it has to become the other way around. That's what he is pointing out here. Once you have a certain mastery of your mind, even your breath will be in keeping with that. Okay, so you don't have to be only watching your breath and all that. You can contemplate on the Atma Ekatva Jnanam. Okay, so that can be recollected, whatever the Shruti is telling, whatever Shravanam you did, the repetition of that Shravanam alone is Nididhyasana. Understand that. Repeated Shravanam itself is Nididhyasana. If you are attending a class and you are able to focus during that class on what that Guru is saying without any other distraction, that itself is Nididhyasana. Sureshwara says, in fact, in Naishkarmya Siddhi, finally what does he say? Repeated Shravanam is Nididhyasanam. And even afterwards, after the class also, your mind is naturally contemplating about whatever was discussed in the class. All that takes place. So that kind of a mind, which is not agitated, distracted by anything else, and which is able to focus on one thing, that is the goal. That is this Chitta Naischalyam. Both are important. Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Naischalyam. So Sadhyanam Abhyase. So you have to do dhyana and attain this Chitta Naischalyam. Therefore, and again, why are we attaining this Chitta Naischalyam? Not for its sake. Not like Yoga Shastra where your goal is to have no thoughts or anything. In fact, our problem is not thoughts. The wrong notions are our problem. We have to have the right notion or removal of the wrong notion. The self-transformation has to take place. So we are not chasing some experience also. Understand that experience is not a problem. Everybody is experiencing oneself. Nobody can claim that I am not experiencing myself. But it has to, that experience has to be in the light of knowledge, which is revealed by the Veda. Okay, of course, some experiences also can reinforce whatever is being revealed by the Veda. All that is there. So, this having a mind which is calm. See, even one, normally why this calm mind is talked about, one analogy which is given is you take water in a pond, clear water is there. Then if you go and look into that, you can see your face there, correct? Your reflection is clear. That is the still water. But if you go and put your leg in the water and disturb the water, bring up all the mud, then if you look into it, can you look into it? Means you cannot see anything. So like that, even mind, agitated mind cannot appreciate Vedanta. You require a certain still mind, which makes sense. So for that, all this yoga abhyasa is recommended. So this yoga sadhana is incorporated, okay, into Vedanta, leaving out whatever is not in keeping with the Shruti. We take all other things. That is the important thing here. Okay, so now continuing. Akunjanamapanasya pranasya cha nirodhanam lambiko parijihvayaha sthapanam yoga sadhanam. So now Sureshwara is going into a particular kind of yoga sadhana, which is called Khechari Mudra. Okay, Khechari Mudra or Lambika Yoga also. The word Lambika is used here. Lambiko pari jihvayaha sthapanam. Jihva means tongue. Sthapanam means placing. Where do you place your tongue? In fact, you fold your tongue back and try to place it on what they call uvula. U-V-U-L-A. Uvula means what? If you look into your mouth, there is a small projection from the top of your mouth, correct? Down. That is called uvula. Now, if you are able to fold your tongue back and touch your uvula or even go beyond that, behind that is called the lambika. There is a small space behind that uvula where you are supposed to place your tongue and close up. That means essentially you are closing up that passage itself. And simultaneously you have to close up another thing. What is that? Your anal cavity also. Akunchanam apanasya means you close up using your muscles. You strain your muscles and close your anal cavity also. Therefore, that apana is supposed to go out. Okay, any energy which is going out is apana. So you constrict that, or you constrain that apana by closing your anal cavity and retaining it there. And kumbhaka pranayama. We talked about kumbhaka, correct? In pranayama means you retain your prana within your body. That is the pranasya cha nirodhanam, means what? You stop the prana within the body by closing on both ends. You take your tongue backside to the uvula and further, and close the cavity here on top. On bottom also, you constrain your muscles and stop the flow of apana outside. And if you remain like that by keeping the prana within your body, that is called Lambika Yoga or Khechari Mudra, it is called. That taking the tongue back and closing that passage is called Khechari Mudra. So this is supposed to give you certain yogic powers or even make you live long, longevity, all that. In fact, later on, next 5 years or something, Sureshwara will talk about the different siddhis one can gain, okay, by doing this kind of a yoga sadhana. So this Khechari Mudra is talked about in Shaiva Agamas, even in books like Hatha Yoga Pradipika. In fact, one interesting story which I have heard, I don't know how true it is that if you go to Sringeri, you have this beautiful Vidyashankara temple, stone temple, really beautifully carved sculptures, and even it is so symmetric, and inside that all 12 Rashis are represented there, and sun will fall on each Rashi depending on which month it is and all that. So they have built it like that. Wonderful architecture and sculpture and all that. You can enjoy all that. But there is a Vidyashankara Linga also is there. Now that below that Linga is supposed to be the Vidyashankara, also is a Shankaracharya who was there in the late 13th century, early 14th centuries. This Shankaracharya, who was the guru of Bharati Tirtha. Okay. And then only Vidyaranya Swami came. So this Vidyashankara, he is supposed to have gone into a Jiva Samadhi there. Okay. So he told that his Sishyas that you put me in this Jiva Samadhi and open it after 12 years. And so he used this Lambika Yoga or Khechari Mudra and went into a Jiva Samadhi there. But the interesting story is that when Bharati Tirtha left Sringeri for some reason, some other Shishyas out of their own curiosity opened that Jiva Samadhi after only 3 years. And then they found one Linga there. And then later on, once Bharati Tirtha came back, then they built this temple and then did a Pratishtha of Linga, another Linga, I think. So like this, some story is there. So this Khechari Mudra or Lambika Yoga is a very popular yogic practice. Even nowadays also some people practice that. Okay. Of course, not everybody needs to practice all these things, but these are all there. And again, why do we even talk about all these siddhis and all that? Because it gives us certain shraddha in the Shastra. Okay, so when you see that these things are all achievable, then people get a certain shraddha that yes, even though whatever our Shastra, whatever it is telling may look very fantastic, but it is all not some nonsense. It is all achievable, and it is saying whatever is actually achieved by our forefathers, our ancestors, our Shrestha Purushas, whoever were there already. These are all coming from them only. So at one level, for Shraddha, it is very useful to look at all these things. Okay. Okay, so continuing here. So this is called yoga sadhana here, means this is the Lambika yoga. Lambika yoga or Khechari mudra, I told you, correct? By constraining the prana within, keeping it only within your body, not letting it out. So this is a very interesting sadhana. So when you do this, what are all the things which can happen? We'll see that. Chitte nischalatam yate prane madhyapatham gate चिन्हान्येतानि जायन्ते पंचभूत जयात् पृथक्. So here chitte nischalatam yate means what? Your mind is still, steady. So you have achieved a certain steadiness of your mind. You are able to focus. Okay. And then prane madhya patham gate means the prana also now. Patha means really path. Okay, madhya patha means middle path. So what do we mean by this middle path? Means prana is there in your body. It doesn't, like previously we have restrained it within the body, correct? So that is what here. So you have restrained your prana also within your body. Then what? Chinhani etani jayante. These signs or indications, then they will manifest. Okay. These signs will be there. Chinhani etani jayante. Okay. And what are these signs? He will talk about that. Okay. But here you can see how you are getting here means you are actually winning over the Panchabhutas. You are having a certain mastery over the 5 elements. Everything is elemental, correct? This entire physical world can be looked upon as using the 5 element model. So essentially you are gaining mastery over these 5 elements, means you are gaining mastery over the elemental physical world itself. That is what he is saying. Panchabhuta jayat prithak. So see all this because you are having a certain mastery over these 5 bhutas, this chinnani prithak jayante. So they are manifesting separately. Okay, they manifest themselves, different indications, signs and all that. When you have a steady mind, when your prana is also steady, it is restrained within your body, and you have gained certain mastery over all the 5 bhutas. So now, what are these signs? Let us see. Okay, first he says, Mala Mutra Kapal. Okay, Mala Mutra Kapal Patva. Okay, Mala Mutra Kapal Patvam. Arogyam Laghuta Tanoham. Sugandha Swarna Varnatvam. Or Swara Varnatvam also is another reading, I think. Prathamam Yoga Lakshanam. Okay, so Mala Mutra Kapal Patvam means what? Kapha Alpatvam. So once you do like this, see, once you are in this Lambika Yoga, Khechari Mudra and all, essentially you cannot eat anything or even drink. So if you are doing that, means when you are practicing these yoga sadhanas, obviously the amount of food and drinks which you take have to come down drastically daily if you are doing this for some time also. Of course, if you enter into some Jiva Samadhi and all, you are then gone. You are not taking anything at all. Even otherwise, if you are doing this every day, let us say, you will have very little food and water or any other drink. So your excretions will become very less in the form of whether it is so whether it is a feces or urine or phlegm also, kapha, all those things, alpatvam it will become, means it will become very less, very little. And then arogyam, you will gain health, no roga, no disease will come to you. All this corona and all cannot affect you, maybe, most probably. Okay, arogyam. So roga is not there for you anymore. Then laghuta tanoho. Tanu means body. Laghuta means lightness. Your body will become light. Okay. Lightness of body. And even smell from your body will be fragrant. See, normally, if you are in Indian summer, you sweat, and after some time, you are smelling badly. But here, your bodily smell, some people have a hatred for body odor and all that. That is extreme, I think. But even that body odor will become fragrant, like some scent, hopefully. So, sugandhaha, you will have. Okay. And swarna varnatvam, your body will shine like gold. Okay. Like gold, it will shine. So, good smell, good color, shining and fragrant. So, this is the prathamam yoga lakshanam. So, this is the first sign. So, he talked about this Panchabhuta Jaya, correct? So, even in your body itself, the body is divided into this 5 bhutas also, where they are reigning, you can say. So, each region is influenced by one of the bhuta, like that it is looked upon. So, initially from your feet to your knees is the Prithvi, it is the region of Prithvi. So, if you have mastery over Prithvi, then all these first signs are all manifesting. That is the idea here. Okay. So, from your feet to knees is the region of Prithvi. From your knees to the navel is the region of water up. Then navel to kantha, throat, is tejas. Then kantha, throat to the center point on your forehead, correct? In between your eyebrows. So kantha to the center of your eyebrows, that region is vayu, wind. Then from the center of your eyebrows up to the Brahmarandhra on the top of your skull, that is all Akasha region. So in which region you have mastery, based on that, all these different signs Sureshwara is talking about. So Prathamam Yoga Lakshanam is all these things. So that your excretions from the body will be very, very less, limited. You will have good health. Good health means no diseases. Then your body itself will become light, and your body will be emitting good fragrance, and it will be shining like gold. Okay. This is the Prathamam Lakshanam, Yoga Lakshanam. Then next is what? Kantagreshva Sangatvam, Jalapankeshva Majjanam, Kshutridadi Sahishnutvam, Dvitiyam Yoga Lakshanam. Okay. So next yoga lakshana is what? Kantaka agreshu asangatvam, means what? Kanta means here thorn. Kantaka agra means the end of the thorn, correct? sharp portion of the thorn. So even if a thorn is there and you step on it, it will not bother you, it will not enter you, in fact. Okay, Kantakagreshu asangatvam means you will not be pierced by these sharp points of these thorns. So you can walk anywhere happily. See, one of the problems even walking in our Gurukulam is what? There are a lot of thorny plants are there, or thorns are also there generally in the mud. So even if I walk with my slippers here, there are thorns which are big enough that it goes through my slipper and still it will enter my feet below. Now our Sadayandi is there, our worker here, but he walks all over without any chappal. Because he's been walking bare feet for all these years, their feet are like very thick. They have a very thick covering of skin. We are all putting all these socks and shoes and always slipper. Our sole is not hard. It's very soft. So even a small thorn will get in. And then it's a pain. Sometimes to remove it itself is a pain, correct? You have to use some other sharp object to actually remove it and all that. Once it goes inside and gets itself lodged into your skin, sometimes it is a pain to even remove it. Anyway, so Kantakagreshu asangatvam. So these thorns and all will not bother you, it will not enter. Okay, then what? Jalapankeshu amajjanam means what? Jala is water. Panka means like slushy water. Okay, like a marshland and all that. So in water or in marshy places, you will not be drowned. You cannot drown also. Okay. Then Shut Tridadi Sahishnutvam. Shut means hunger. Trishna. Trish is becoming thrid here. Is thirst. So hunger, thirst and all will not bother you anymore. Okay, so you will not be affected by sharp objects. Okay. So this Gita verse only is coming to mind, correct? Of course, that Bhagavan is talking about Atma there. Atma being Aprameya, it cannot be cut by anything. It cannot be drowned in water and all, he says. It cannot be burnt by fire. Similarly here, even for the physical body, you have some of these things manifesting. Your physical body cannot be bothered by sharp objects. It can withstand. Similarly, even if there is a quagmire or even lot of water, you won't drown. Maybe you will float on that, because even previously only we saw you attain a certain lightness of your body. So you can float on the water. You will not drown anywhere, wherever it is. Okay. And also there is no more hunger and thirst and all that. You have controlled your prana so much that it is functioning without the need for any physical food. So there are people who have not eaten for ages, correct? Some of them say that they just live by the rays of the sun and all that. There are people like that. We cannot discount all that. So they have achieved this ability to live without food and water also, some people. So that is the Dvitiya Yoga Lakshanam. This is the second. Means you have certain mastery over up region also now. From the Prithvi region, you have now gone to the water region. Water region also you have a certain mastery, means all these things will manifest. Then what? Next, Bhakwan Napana Bhoktritvam Atapagni Sahishnuta Darshanam Shravanam Durat Tritiyam Yoga Lakshanam. So next you have, you are now having mastery over the tejas also, correct? Agni region of your body. Means what can you do now? Bahvanna pana bhoktritvam. Means you can eat a lot of food. One person only can keep on eating one whole anda. Okay. So you can eat like Bhima. Whatever is cooked, only you finish it. 100 people's food, let us say. That is Bhagavanna Pana Bhoktritvam. You can drink a lot also. Drink and eat as much as you want. See, Annadanam is supposed to be the best Danam. Why? Because only, see, anything else you give money, human being will never say enough. Don't give me more. But food, they have to say enough. Alam. Only so much you can eat, correct? Afterwards, anybody, okay, somebody eats 2 rotis, somebody can eat 10 rotis. At some point, they have to say, okay, enough, I am satisfied. So you can satisfy a human being by doing Annadana. They have to say enough. So that is why Annadana is supposed to be best dana, best way of giving something is you give food, means they have to say enough with food. But here, this yogi can eat, keep on eating and not say enough. Bhakvanna pana bhoktritvam. Then, atapagni sahishnuta means what? So, the sun is beating, correct? Now we are having summer here already, more than 100 degrees. Or you go to some desert, like Gulf countries or even Rajasthan here, the temperature will go beyond 110 degrees and all that, correct? But yogi is able to be there happily without any problem. So you are able to withstand heat or even fire itself. They are placing their finger in the fire, nothing is happening. So atapa agni sahishnuta, you are able to bear heat and even fire. Maybe the corollary is that you are able to bear even cold. That's why we see Naga sadhus are all there. They don't wear any clothes. They are totally nanga, naked. But they are all living in Himalayas. Recently also one video came. Some Indo-Tibetan border police guy has taken a video of some Naga sadhu playing in the snow in the Himalayas. That went viral. This Jawan is wearing everything, correct? Top to bottom, full winter clothes. That sadhu is simply playing in the snow with no clothes. So they are able to bear all that, even in that biting cold, without clothes also, he is able to live. Sahishnuta, literally, we talk about titiksha. Okay, but this titiksha is at a different level. Okay, so able to bear heat, cold to the extreme. Okay, not only that, darshanam, shravanam, durat. So you can have ESP, okay, extra sensory perception. You are able to hear whatever is happening at a distance. Of course, you are all hearing me sitting at a distance. That has been enabled by technology also now. Okay, but literally telepathy, you can say. Without any technology itself, the yogi is able to hear what is happening at a distance or see what is happening at a distance. That kind of, in fact, Shankara accepts this. Even in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya, there is an argument based on this, that yogis are able to see. So what Shankara is saying is, to achieve a thing, there may be many different ways of doing it. In the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya, in the Brihadaranyaka itself, in the fourth Brahmana of the first chapter, it says that Prajapati is the first being, correct? He alone was there. Then he felt fear being alone. Then he realized that he alone is there. There is no second thing to be afraid of. And then he gained Atma Jnanam and attained fearlessness. Then there is a question, how can this Prajapati gain knowledge without any teaching, without any teacher, guru and all that? So there Shankara then explains, see, Prajapati already has done lot of punya. That's why in the previous birth, that's why Prajapati, he became Prajapati, correct? That Jiva became Prajapati, the first born. And Prajapati Upadhi is a special Upadhi. So Prajapati need not undergo regular Gurukula Vasam to understand Vedanta. So there he is giving an analogy. See, normal people, if you want to see something, you require good eyesight. Your eyes should be functioning correctly. But that alone is not enough. You require light also, correct? Only when there is light and you have good eyesight, you are able to see something. That is normal perception. Then he says, owl is there. Owl is having perception even at night because it doesn't depend on light. Owls and bats and all, they have their own way of perceiving, correct? Or even human beings nowadays have infrared. You can use infrared to also see certain things. Bats are using sound actually, Doppler effect and all that, and they know. So they are perceiving in a different way. And then he says, yogis don't need even that. They can know things which are happening at a distance without any. See, at least owl and bat and all requires some kind of indriya artha sannikarsha is required, some contact between the indriya and the object. But it is not the same way as for human beings. It is a different way of contact between the senses and the object. But for a yogi, that indriyartha sannikarsha itself is not required. That is what is called alaukika pratyaksha. Normal laukika pratyaksha means worldly perception, sense perception is only through coming into contact between the sense organ and the sense object have to come into contact. Then only the perceptual knowledge, cognition takes place. But for a yogi, that is not required. So, durat shravanam, durat darshanam also is possible. Tritiyam yoga lakshanam. This is the third. That means you have mastery over the tejas part of your body also. Okay, then what? Mandukaplavanam bhumau markataplavanam drume akashagamanam cheti chaturtham yoga lakshanam. Mandukaplavanam bhumau. On the bhumi, they can jump like frog. How frog is jumping, correct? For frog's body, the amount of jump it can make is very high, correct? It can jump up even couple of feet and all that. That kind of a spring, coily legs it is having. Similarly, the yogi can jump maybe many feet. Like people are now using pole vault and all that. Like that, yogi can jump up just like that, like a frog is jumping on the bhumi. Then markata plavanam drume. Druma means trees. Yogi can also jump on from tree to tree like a monkey. Markata plavanam. Markata is monkey. So like a monkey, yogi can jump on trees. And not only that, akasha gamanam cha iti can also fly in the sky. So we have heard that Narada was going in the sky, he saw something, he came down, then he started some conversation. This Rishi was flying, that Rishi was going like that, or Devas are going, all that Akasha Gamanam. Even Siddhas. So we hear that Bhogar was going somewhere, or even the Tirumular story also, something like this is there. So Akasha Gamanam also is possible. That means that Vayu part of your body, you have gained certain mastery. Chaturtham Yoga Lakshanam means all these things. Then finally what? Jnanam Trikala Vishayam Aishwaryam Manimadikam Ananta Shakti Matvancha Panchamam Yoga Lakshanam. So the fifth Yoga Lakshana is what? Trikala Vishayam Jnanam. So you know what has happened, what is happening now, what will happen in future also. Yogis have this ability to know. Even this is referred to in the Bhashya, Brihadaranyaka Bhashya. Shankara accepts this. Understand that. He gives in the Ghata Bhashya, he gives this as an argument to say that the effect is always there in the cause. For us, creation means it is not that something which was not there is coming newly. Understand this. Creation itself we do not accept. In fact, everything is only a manifestation. What we call as Srishti or creation is nothing but one effect is manifesting from the cause. In the process, some other effect is actually resolved or it is covered. So this manifestation from potential form to actual Nama Rupa, name and form, is called Srishti. And again, from the same cause, if some other effect manifests and this effect is covered, that is called Laya or destruction, whatever. So in this, Shankara is giving one argument that if we do not say that already future is there in the present, then this yogi's jnanam will become vyartha, it will become wrong. Or even Ishvara's knowledge of all three times also will be wrong. So we have to say that everything is always potentially there in the now. Correct? Potential existence is always there. Brahman is the Jagat Karanam. Whatever is there in the Jagat, all names and forms are always potentially there in Brahman right now. So our conception of space, time and all is as linear also doesn't make any sense. Understand that. That is a purely Abrahamic notion, or even scientists have assumed somehow that everything is linear. For us, time is not linear, it is all cyclical. So that means even in the now, all the time is there, all the kalpa is right now there. Okay. So we have to understand that. So that means Trikala Vishaya Jnanam yogi can have. Aishwaryam, overlordship over everything. Okay. Or here we have to take this Aishwaryam as the Ashtamaha Siddhis are there. See, Animadikam Aishwaryam means, so the Anima, like that eightfold Siddhis are talked about. Anima, Laghima, Praptihi, Prakamyam, Mahima, Ishatvam, Vashitvam, like this, all these 8. Okay. In fact, did I say 8? I think 8 are there. You can go and see. Animadi Siddhi, they are called. Anima, Laghima, Praptihi, Prakayatvam, and all. We talk about that. So those Ashta Siddhi you gain. And then what? Ghanta, Dundubi, Shankhabdhi, Veena, Venvadi, Talavat. Sorry. I went to the next one, I think. Okay, here. Ananta Shakti Matvancha. Then you have infinite strength. Nothing can do anything to your body and all that. Even a bomb blast will not do anything, maybe. Ananta Ananta Shakti Matvam. So Panchamam Yoga Lakshanam. So these are the 5 in your body, the different, the Akasha region also you have gained certain mastery, means all these things also are manifesting, all these siddhis, signs. Then further what? Prane shushumnam samprapte nadonta shruyate shtada घंटा दुंदुबि शंकाब्धि वीणा वेण्वादि तालवत्. Then you start hearing different sounds and all that he is saying, particularly when the prana is entering the sushumna nadi. Okay, prane sushumnam samprapte. So when the prana is entering the sushumna nadi, then what you hear eight kinds of sound. It seems shruyate ashtada nadontaha. So 8 types of nada. Okay, you hear. What are they? Ghanta means bell. Dundubi means some kind of a drum. It is kettle drum is called dundubi, I think. Shankha, conch. Okay. Abdhi means waves from the ocean, beach, wave sound. Then Veena. Our Veena is there. I don't know what they call in English for Veena, in fact. Venu is flute. Okay. And then Talavat, some kind of a cymbals and all that, correct? So all these 8 kinds of sounds you can hear. Even in meditation, some people hear some sounds and all that. So like this, these sounds and all you can hear when the prana is entering the sushumna. So all these things are being described so that even if you have some experience during your meditation, you should not become afraid or anything, correct? These are all possible. Some people have, some people don't have any of this experience while meditating, which is fine. But some kind of a guidance from the tradition and all these things is useful for anybody. Then further, he is talking about some more things. We'll see that next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवादः।